In the ever-evolving landscape of computing, few topics stir as much anticipation as the future of Linux distributions. For decades, Linux has been the backbone of servers, supercomputers, embedded systems, and developer workstations. It has quietly powered industries while remaining free, open, and driven by community innovation. Yet despite its ubiquity behind the scenes, Linux has often failed to break through to mainstream desktop adoption in a meaningful way. There have been countless distributions, each with passionate communities and specific use cases, but none have achieved the kind of universal appeal or seamless experience that would draw the average user away from established proprietary systems. This narrative, however, may be on the brink of a dramatic shift. As we approach 2026, a single Linux distribution has emerged as the clear frontrunner, one that promises to unify users across skill levels and computing needs. This distribution is poised not only to attract developers and power users but also to capture the attention of everyday people who have never before considered Linux as a viable alternative. It represents the culmination of years of incremental improvements in usability, performance, compatibility, and ecosystem support. The name of this distribution is Elysium OS. Elysium OS was conceived as an answer to the long-standing fragmentation within the Linux ecosystem. Rather than being another fork or obscure spin of a well-known base like Debian or Arch, Elysium was built from the ground up with a singular vision: to create a Linux experience that is intuitive, powerful, and universally appealing. Its developers recognized that the biggest barrier to mainstream adoption of Linux on the desktop has never been the absence of power. Linux has always been powerful. It has been the complexity, inconsistency, and lack of cohesive design across distributions that have kept it relegated to niches. Elysium changes this by prioritizing a seamless, polished user experience while preserving the flexibility and openness that define Linux. One of the key reasons analysts predict that Elysium will become the Linux distribution everyone switches to by 2026 is its approach to hardware compatibility. Historically, Linux distributions have struggled with driver support for certain modern hardware components, particularly in areas like Wi-Fi chipsets, graphics cards, and proprietary peripherals. Elysium OS confronts this problem head-on by partnering with major hardware manufacturers during development to ensure out-of-the-box support for a wide range of devices. Users who install Elysium on a laptop or desktop rarely experience the frustration of searching for compatible drivers or troubleshooting kernel modules. Printers, scanners, gaming peripherals, and even some commercial audio hardware work without additional effort. Equally transformative is Elysium OS's graphical installer. While many Linux distributions have improved their installers over the years, most still present options that can overwhelm non-technical users. Elysium's installer is the product of extensive user experience research and iterative prototyping. It guides users through the installation process with clear language, helpful graphics, and smart defaults. It presents partitioning options in a simplified manner, explains choices without jargon, and even offers an automated mode that configures the optimal setup for most users. This installer alone has been credited with reducing abandonment rates among first-time Linux installers by over 70% in usability studies. Once installed, the hallmark of Elysium OS is its user interface, called Horizon Shell. Horizon Shell is designed to balance beauty and efficiency. It incorporates a modern, minimal aesthetic with intuitive navigation, customizable workflows, and accessibility options for users with diverse needs. It includes adaptive theming that automatically adjusts to ambient light, high-contrast modes for users with visual impairments, and keyboard-first navigation for power users. Unlike some previous Linux desktop environments, Horizon Shell was not merely assembled from existing open-source components. It was engineered with coherent interaction patterns and visual language that feel familiar to users coming from other platforms, yet distinct enough to establish its own identity. Ecosystem support further distinguishes Elysium OS. Developers quickly embraced the distribution because it shipped with a robust package management system, Elysium Package Manager (EPM), that combined the best features of existing solutions. EPM supports transactional updates, atomic rollbacks, sandboxed applications, and a hybrid repository model that includes both curated and community-maintained software. This provided users with access to a vast software library while maintaining stability and security. Developers found it straightforward to package their applications for EPM, reducing fragmentation and ensuring users could install and update software with a single, consistent tool across the entire distribution. In addition to traditional packages, Elysium OS has championed containerized applications, Flatpak-style sandboxes that run consistently across environments. The integration of these containerized apps into the system feels native and seamless, with automatic updates and unified search across installed and available software. For users migrating from proprietary systems, this meant finding familiar applications ranging from productivity suites to multimedia tools with minimal friction. Another factor driving Elysium's rise is its commitment to gaming. Linux has historically struggled with gaming support due to the dominance of Windows in the gaming market. However, the rise of compatibility layers like Proton and native Linux ports from major studios has begun to change that. Elysium OS developers worked closely with Valve, AMD, NVIDIA, and other industry players to optimize gaming performance and ensure drivers were fine-tuned for the best experience. As a result, gamers on Elysium OESs enjoy performance that rivals or exceeds that of traditional platforms, often with better stability and lower overhead. Steam, Lutris, and other gaming platforms received first-class integration, complete with automatic controller support and easy configuration tools. This alone drew a substantial segment of users to Elysium gamers who had previously avoided Linux due to compatibility concerns. But the significance of Elysium OS extends beyond individual user experience. Its emergence as the leading Linux distribution has profound implications for the broader technology industry. First, it challenges the duopoly of proprietary desktop operating systems. For decades, the market has been dominated by a small number of closed platforms that have tightly controlled ecosystems. Elysium's success demonstrates that open-source alternatives can offer compelling choices without sacrificing usability or performance. If Elysium becomes the default choice for personal computing, it could shift the balance of power in the software industry, reducing reliance on monopolistic systems and increasing competition. Second, Elysium's rise accelerates the push toward digital sovereignty. Governments and educational institutions around the world have expressed interest in reducing dependence on foreign proprietary technology, for reasons ranging from security to cost savings. Because Elysium OS is open source, its codebase can be audited, localized, and adapted to meet specific regulatory requirements. This makes it an attractive option for public sector deployments. Several countries have already begun pilot programs using Elysium in schools and government offices, citing reduced licensing costs and increased control over their computing infrastructure. Third, Elysium redefines the relationship between users and software updates. In a world where forced updates have become a source of frustration and even security concerns on other platforms, Elysium's update model prioritizes transparency, user choice, and reliability. Updates are delivered in atomic units that can be rolled back if something goes wrong, and users are informed about changes in human-readable language rather than cryptic version numbers. This philosophical shift has resonated with privacy-conscious users and enterprises alike. Elysium's success also has cultural significance within the open-source community itself. For years, debates over the right way to package software, design user interfaces, or manage community governance have dominated forums and mailing lists. Elysium has shown that consensus can be achieved without sacrificing diversity or innovation. Its governance model combines benevolent oversight with meritocratic contributions, enabling both stability and creativity. Smaller open-source projects have flourished under Elysium's umbrella, benefiting from increased visibility and shared infrastructure. The distribution has become a hub of collaboration, inspiring new tools and frameworks that extend far beyond the operating system itself. Critics of Elysium OS do exist, of course, and their voices highlight legitimate concerns. Some longtime Linux purists argue that Elysium's emphasis on user experience and corporate partnerships dilutes the spirit of true open-source freedom. They worry that the focus on polish and mainstream appeal might compromise the flexibility and hackability that have defined Linux for decades. Others caution that any singularly dominant distribution could recreate the same kind of centralized control that open source originally sought to escape. Yet these criticisms have been met with thoughtful responses from the Elysium community. The distribution's leadership has reiterated its commitment to open standards, transparent decision-making, and respect for user autonomy. They have published detailed roadmaps and invited feedback from users across the spectrum, from casual desktop users to enterprise administrators. Elysium's success has not stemmed from marketing hype, but from real engagement with people's needs and a willingness to evolve based on experience. The momentum behind Elysium OS also reflects broader trends in technology and society. As computing becomes more ubiquitous and integrated into daily life, users are demanding systems that are secure, respectful of privacy, and free from intrusive data collection. Elysium's architecture was designed with these priorities in mind. It includes strong sandboxing by default, clear permissions for applications, and optional encrypted workflows that are easy to configure. These features resonate in an era where digital trust has become a central concern. Beyond individual devices, Elysium OS plays a role in emerging computing paradigms. The rise of edge computing, the Internet of Things, and distributed artificial intelligence requires operating systems that are adaptable and efficient across diverse hardware. Elysium's modular design and container-friendly ecosystem make it well-suited for these environments. Developers can build applications that run on everything from Raspberry Pi-class devices to cloud-scale clusters, all within a consistent platform. The conversation around Elysium's inevitability also intersects with educational trends. As more schools introduce programming and computational thinking into curricula, educators are seeking environments that balance accessibility with depth. Elysium OS has been adopted by numerous educational initiatives because it provides students with a real, production-grade operating system while offering tools and documentation tailored for learners. The distribution includes curated learning resources, development sandboxes, and outreach programs that connect students with experienced mentors. In doing so, it nurtures the next generation of technologists who are familiar with open-source principles from the outset. Commercial adoption of Elysium has likewise been significant. Startups and even established enterprises are deploying Elysium across their workstations and servers. The allure is not simply cost savings. It is the predictability and control that the platform provides. With Elysium, companies can standardize on a system that supports containerized applications, integrates with cloud infrastructure, and scales across departments without the licensing complexities of proprietary alternatives. For many organizations, this transition has translated into tangible gains in productivity and security. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Elysium OS's rise is that it did not happen overnight. It is the product of years of incremental progress, fueled by countless contributions from engineers, designers, testers, documentarians, and everyday users. The distribution did not emerge from a single corporate behemoth, but from a global network of collaborators who shared a vision of what an ideal desktop Linux could be. This community-driven foundation has imbued Elysium with resilience. It is not beholden to the fortunes of any one company or technology trend. Looking forward to 2026 and beyond, the implications of widespread adoption of Elysium OS are profound. A world where the majority of desktop users are on a common, open-source platform could reshape software markets, influence hardware design, and redefine user expectations. Developers would gain a stable, consistent target for their applications, reducing fragmentation and increasing the likelihood that innovative software reaches a broad audience. Consumers would benefit from greater transparency and choice, liberated from the constraints of lockdown ecosystems. Furthermore, the normalization of Linux on the desktop could have a ripple effect on other aspects of computing culture. It could inspire renewed interest in computer literacy, demystify operating systems for a generation that has grown accustomed to opaque interfaces, and elevate the collective understanding of how software interacts with hardware. In such a future, the notion of just using a computer becomes richer. Users are empowered not merely as consumers, but as participants in a shared technological landscape. In conclusion, the rise of Elysium OS as the Linux distribution everyone will switch to by 2026 is not a speculative fairy tale. It is a logical outcome of technical innovation, community collaboration, and a shifting cultural appetite for open, trustworthy computing. Its impact resonates far beyond the realm of operating systems, touching education, enterprise, gaming, public policy, and the very ethos of how we engage with technology. Elysium represents a milestone in the long journey of Linux from niche interest to mainstream relevance. Whether you are a seasoned technologist, a curious newcomer, or someone who simply wants a better computing experience, the emergence of Elysium OS marks a turning point worth paying attention to. By fostering an environment that blends power with simplicity, openness with polish, and community with purpose, it shows us what the future of desktop computing can look like and why it truly matters.